Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here you're so welcome. I'm Jane, my husband Michael is behind the camera. We're British, early retirees in our late 50s, living a thrifty, frugal and money saving life here in Brittany in northwest France. And every Wednesday we invite you into our home for a midweek money chat. Let's take a look what we're going to talk about today. So what do you think are financial skills for life? Do you think it's about maximising your earning potential? Do you think it's about making as much money as you possibly can? Do you think it's about investing and doubling your money? Do you think it's about short-term and long-term investments? Or do you think it's about a set of behaviours? And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about those essential financial skills that every single one of us can have. And as you know, I always like to be reflective. I like to look at the big picture. And it's to say this: we, all of us, have known people who have earned plenty of money and retired with nothing. We have all known people who've had plenty of money and spent it faster than they could earn it. And then equally, we have known people who've had very average jobs, who've plodded along through life, saved a bit here and there, who've lived frugally, who've lived sensibly, and have far more to show for it than someone who's earned way more money than that. So we're going to look at those behaviours today. I say behaviours because there's plenty of them, that really are the financial skills that really can take us through life and through the financial ups, and like we're living through now, the deep financial downs. Now, lots of things I'm going to talk about today have been inspired by questions that people frequently ask me. And a question that people frequently ask me on our Facebook group and here on YouTube is, how do we cope with? How do you cope with? And a question we frequently get asked with: how do you cope if you get asked by your friends to go along to something flashy or expensive? How do you cope when your social group are doing things that you can't afford? And my answer is simply this, and it's the same for all of you watching. And it's choose your network, choose your tribe, and choose your social group. If you have people around you who are making demands of you that you can't afford, who are inviting you to things that you are not financially able to be part of, if they are asking you to track days, race days, flashy events, knowing full well that you can't afford to do those things, you know a really rotten bunch of people. You really do. They're shallow, rotten bunch of people, and they're not treating you well at all. And have some respect for yourself is the first thing. And be with people who are going to respect you for who you are, and you respect yourself for who you are. And that's very much has roots in finances. So be with the people who can afford to do the things that you like to do, that are important to you, and that you want to do. And so there you are. It's so important financially to network and to choose your tribe and choose your social group. Otherwise, you're going to be chasing finances that you can't afford. You might not be feeling good about your own finances. You might not make good financial decisions. So there's number one, and something that we really do and that we really stick by is that we choose our network, we choose our tribe, and we choose our social group. So the next question that I've been asked, which really has made me think about those essential financial skills for life, is how do you avoid lifestyle creep? In the past, I haven't. In the past, I've made exactly the same mistakes as everybody else. And when we say about we made mistakes, it's as if it was unconscious, as if it just crept up upon us, as if lifestyle creep is something that just slowly and slyly and quickly happened. It never, ever, ever just happens. Whenever we are involved in lifestyle creep, we, every single one of us, has consciously decided to waste our money. We didn't need a bigger house. We didn't need to live in a fancier postcode. We didn't need to live in a better address. We consciously decided to do that. So how do you avoid lifestyle creep? You consciously decide, well, okay, we're going to take a step backwards. We're going to sell this big house and we're going to live in a less desirable area. We often in the UK talk about living in the best house in the worst postcode or the worst house in the best postcode. The choice is yours, and that's exactly the same wherever you live. So it's consciously deciding not to have a better car, to have a very modest car. It's consciously deciding not to eat out, not to buy my coffee out. It's consciously making those decisions. I'm reminded of a very, very lovely young man I worked with. And he and his wife, when they had children, decided that they were going to live off one income. And what they decided to do, and often the greatest wisdom comes from the youngest heads, what they decided to do is they would always budget off the one low income. Even if he went on to earn more money, they would never do any more than save that money. So that meant they bought the most modest house they could afford. The children shared a bedroom. The boys shared with the boys. The girls shared with the girls. They lived very, very modestly. He rode a bicycle in and out of work. She used the bus and pushed the pushchair. But they made that decision that they would live off their one starting income, and anything more they lived after that would be savings, as an example. So how do you avoid lifestyle creep? You consciously decide to not live like all the other people who are bettering themselves all the time. One of the most essential financial skills for life is to continue to be a learner and to continue to learn new skills. Often people will bemoan the fact that schools didn't teach them about budgeting, that schools didn't teach them about thrift or money saving or interest rates. Schools cannot teach us absolutely everything. If your school taught you to read and write, if your school taught you to be literate and numerate, every other aspect of learning is available to you. So people who have good financial skills continue to learn. If they don't understand budgeting, they learn about budgeting. If they don't know how to cook, they learn how to cook through reading cookbooks, by watching YouTube videos, by reading recipes. If they want to fix their car, those good old days, and I do remember this, of the Haynes manual. You went and bought yourself a car, the next thing you bought yourself was the Haynes manual of how to maintain that car. We've all read the dummy's guide to everything from using an iPhone to making YouTube videos. Mike and I couldn't video edit, some things that we have learned to do. There are not the skills that we were born with. These are not the skills that have been passed down from our friends or our family. What we have done as sensible thinking adults is that we have continued to learn. So if there are things that we can't do, we've learned how to do it. I have never been to a quilting class. Absolutely everything I have learned from YouTube. If I want to fix something, I'll put in the search box of YouTube how to learn, how to make, how to budget. It's there. All of those skills are out there in the world. We have never lived in such a time to be a learner. The skills are there. We don't have to pay for these classes. We don't have to go and ask anybody. They are just there. So all of those things that I keep hearing now, why aren't schools teaching this, or why aren't schools teaching that? The universe is our classroom, and we live in this wonderful time of this hive mind, and there is so much information out there. But those financial skills for life that are so important, that we accept as intelligent and sensible people, and you're intelligent, smart and sensible people, and the information is there. We do not rely on anybody else to say, oh, this is what you must think and this is what you must learn. The whole world is our classroom. And so a financial skill for life is that you, me and everyone else, we keep learning. If you're a regular to this channel, you'll know I frequently show videos of our budgets and our budgeting, and the biggest piece of advice that I have taken that has made the biggest financial difference to my life, and it's a financial skill that I absolutely stick to all the time, is we pay ourselves first. We haven't always done this. Had we always have done this, our life now would be totally different. And I know you watching this, had you paid yourself first, always, from the day you started work until this time now, your life would be different. So a financial skill that if we grasp it at any stage in our life, and we use that financial skill, is we pay ourselves first. And what that means in very simple terms is we save first. If we only save £1 a week, that's £52, euros, dollars at the end of every single year. It builds up over time, and it becomes money that is not ours. When our tax, our national insurance, our social charges, and pension, or any of those things are deducted at source from our income, we know that money is not ours. Paying ourselves first is exactly the same. When we take that money and we decide to put 2.5%, 5%, 10% of our money aside first, it is not our money. It is the money that needs to go, whether it is in sinking funds for short-term savings, such as paying your taxes at the end of the year, paying for your car to be serviced, paying for your central heating boiler to be serviced, any of those essential things that have to be paid for annually or biannually or every so many years, such as replacing your car. You know that that money that you put aside is not yours. It's not for bills. It's not for food. It's not for any of those things. It is for putting that money aside for when you are going to need it for other aspects of your life, whether this year, next year, or in 5 years' time. So one of the greatest financial skills isn't simply paying ourselves first. It's patience. It's being steady. It's about doing the right thing every single month. And I say this all the time. When do you fix the roof? When the sun is shining. You make hay when the sun shines. When do you save this money? When you are earning. And we are seeing more and more young people do this. More younger people in the workplace are doing this. They are not having the lifestyle that they would have had last year, 3 years before. They know now more than ever, more than some of us did when we were younger, that what you do now is you are putting that money aside, and you always pay yourself first. We're seeing more and more people, especially younger people, looking at older people who haven't saved, who haven't had a pension, who haven't made the decisions, that they are now, the younger people, are making. So the greatest thing that we can do, the greatest financial skill, is that we pay ourselves first. If you're a regular to this channel, you'll know that I spend a lot of time sharing our actual written budget with people. And I do that because I firmly believe one of the greatest financial skills that we can have for life, and I share that openly with people, is to live off a written budget. Where you write your budget is up to you. You could be a person who uses an app on your phone, use a spreadsheet on your computer. I'm a pen and pencil, use a budget book person. But writing that written budget every single month consciously involves me with my finances. I sit there every month. My first line on my budget is always our percentage that we're going to put in our long-term savings. Our second line is always the percentage that we put in our short-term savings, our sinking funds for things that we need to pay for this year. For example, our income tax bill, our water bill, or Christmas and birthday presents. Then we have our lines on our bills of all our everyday expenses. And then we have a line on our bill of discretionary spending. We have a variable income. Sometimes there is no discretionary spending. And because our savings is a percentage, sometimes the savings is smaller, but there are always savings. So I talk about this because I am passionate about this as an essential financial skill. It's one of the reasons that we're passionate about this channel, that we're passionate about sharing this message through our Facebook page as well. That if it's not something that you are doing now, it's something that I would love you to consider doing. And we are going to put a link below to a couple of our budgeting videos to show that. So if this is not something that you're doing now, have a look at how you do this. And like I said earlier about being a learner, go ahead and look at how you can learn to do this. And one of the most essential financial skills for life is that you live off a written budget. I might be repeating myself to people who are familiar to this channel, but sometimes it's good to remind ourselves of those essential financial skills for life. And I absolutely promise you that this will make such a difference to you if you find it difficult to stick to a budget. And it is to do the following. It is to track your spending. So when you decide where your money is going to go, it is therefore absolutely essential to track every penny you spend. You go to a store and they ask you, do you want a receipt? Yes. What's your next habitual thing that you do? What do you do with that receipt? Mine, it's folded, it's put into my wallet. Then what do you do with that receipt when you get home? I get home, I open my wallet, I open my budget book, I write down in my column, for example, supermarket spend, how much I have spent. It might be an item of clothing. I then open my budget book to the back of the book where I have got my annual budgets, such as my annual sinking fund for clothes. And then I keep all of my running totals. Some people track their spending by having a bank account with multiple savings pots, and each of those is a sinking fund. They might have a sinking fund for the children, but they might have split that into sinking funds for school uniform and birthdays and Christmas, or school uniform, birthdays, and then another for Christmas. So tracking our spending is all about that behaviour where we hold ourselves to account. And we have a habit and a system in place for not only have we decided where our money is going to go, that we check ourselves and hold ourselves accountable that we actually spent our money on the things that we said we were going to spend it on. And we have a physical method of being able to look every single day of where our money has gone that we've decided. And an example I've got is often I will do a journey and I will know where I'm going to go, but I will still have my sat nav on. And I do that just in case at any stage of that journey, I might get rerouted. I might forget where I am going. I might have not remembered a certain junction along the way. And tracking our spending does that. It gives us the confidence to know throughout the entire month, quarter or year that we are sticking to our budget. And it is such a financial skill. And if it's something that you don't do, I would encourage you to do. I have saved a strange financial skill until last, and as you can see, I've called it Murphy's Coming. You may be living through high inflation for the first time in your life, but I promise you, it won't be the last time. You may be living through financial difficulties for the first time. It will not be the last. As you get older, you get wiser, you know full well if something can go wrong, it will go wrong. And it's about having the financial skill or the life skill of adapting to those changes. So you know, because you had grandparents, you know you're going to retire one day. And I saw my grandparents when I was growing up, and I could see that they didn't have enough money to live on. And I knew, therefore, in the future, I had to do something about that, because Murphy being Murphy, that could be me in the future. I knew every time I owned a car that it could go wrong. So I'd make sure that I would really keep up to date with all the maintenance and servicing. And even then, it could break down. So having a savings fund in place, a sinking fund for a massive car repair a year, just in case. But having that financial skill is based on one understanding. If it can go wrong, it will go wrong. And being able to flex and save, put money aside, even if it means going without the fun things when I'm able. So all those years that I was earning money, that I didn't do all those fun things, now I can sit back and reflect on the fact that I'm glad, because I knew Murphy was going to come. I knew the economy's not stable. I knew that if things can go wrong, that they will go wrong. And like I said, this might be your first experience of living through very high inflation and very high prices, but it's not going to be your last, because you may have learned from this, even if it's for the very first time. If something can go wrong, it will go wrong, and how we can do our very best we can in our personal circumstances to prepare for that. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all your kind comments and my get well messages. And Mike and I are on the mend, and thank you very much. Thank you so much for all your comments. We read every single one of them. Just leaves me to say, on behalf of Mike and I, we'll see you again soon. Bye.